Hey guys, what's up? My name is Anthony, and welcome to another edition of BNA Sports Talk. I really want to talk about the 49ers. I'm not going to break down their schedule like I've been doing with other teams, but I really want to talk about the 49ers because I have them winning the division. I think I had them winning last year. No, I think I had the Rams winning last year, but I had the 49ers at like 9-7, 10-6 last year. And honest expectations are that and beyond because now you have Dante Pettis, you have Deebo Samuel, you have some other guys that are now aging, they're getting better. The secondary, I really don't know what's going on there, but I just want to talk about their injuries. It just feels like they just catch the injury bug every single year. Well, at least for the last 2 years, just catching the injury bug. It feels like they're one step away, and it feels like they're just stuck on this step, and the only way that they could advance is to stay healthy. And this kind of reminds me of my friend in cross country. Like every single day you question why he couldn't be on the field, why he couldn't practice, and the doctors cleared him. They said everything's okay, but he ran. He's like, I'm hurt. And we knew the kid, we knew that he really wanted to run. And sometimes questions came up like, does this kid really want to run, like because he doesn't like us? No, it's just sometimes people just get injured. Sometimes science just can't explain it. Your body's aligned a certain way or something. It just doesn't show up on the radar. Nick Bosa is going to be one of those guys who perennially gets injured. Do I think it was the right pick? Yeah, I think you had to pick Nick Bosa. I mean, he was just, as far as talent, heads and shoulders above everyone else. But after like week, let's say 6 or 4 or whatever it was in college football, he took a break. So he didn't play for 8 months. And then he plays for the first minute and he gets hurt again? Like, I really don't understand this. I get D Ford, he's aging, you just start in week 1, but Nick Bosa is going to be a huge problem for this 49ers team. He's the lifeblood of this defensive line. You had Solomon Thomas, who had he had some dark times with suicide. I forget the whole story with that, why it was. And then you had Eric Armstead, who's not living up to expectations. But they have a strong linebacking core. I think with Quan Alexander now bringing in some guys like that, especially with the guys they've been drafting over the years. I think Wright is still Fred Warner. I think is one of those guys in the linebacking core. Their secondary is all right. But I'm looking at it. Jimmy Garoppolo, they're saying he's looking pretty well on this with this offense. He's saying Kyle Shanahan's really helping him advance to the next step. And as good as Kyle Shanahan is as a coach, it's just sometimes coaches get fired for no reason. I think the 49ers should stick with Kyle Shanahan until it really doesn't work out. I mean, sometimes coaches just don't work out. He's a great mind. Anybody with Nick Mullins would have went 2-14, but they went 4-12 with a lot of unlucky breaks. They were a 6-10 team last year with Nick Mullins, who nobody heard of, 6-foot undrafted guy, really small guy, who, Kyle Shanahan pretty much taught him how to play. Matt Breida, George Kittle, some random ragtag guys that, now have the 49ers as one of the favorites in this division. I think expectations are for them to win this division. And as far as their ceiling, I think I had them in my Super Bowl bubble. I have to take them out of it. I just don't trust this team. I think it's a little bit too young. Their secondary is a huge hole in this team. And I don't know what this pass rush is going to be. So I'm taking them out of my Super Bowl bubble. I had them in the beginning of the year. I'm taking a couple other players out too, teams out too. I had the Jaguars in there for a while. I'd probably keep them in there. And I think I had the Bills in my Super Bowl window. I'd probably take them out of that. But as far as my Super Bowl bubble, they're pretty much the same teams as before. I don't think the Texans are competing. I do think the Rams are going to compete because apparently Jared Goff looks pretty good, but I just don't think that they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're competing for a Super Bowl, but I just don't think that they'll make the playoffs because, one team does that every single year. The 49ers are, I think this is their time. This is their time. It all depends on this defense. Like I said, the offense, you have 2 studs now. Dante Pettis, who had a do with that Mitch Trubisky trade that I made a video on. I was like, there's wide receiver Dante Pettis. I didn't really know how good he was. You have Deebo Samuel now. I could just start rattling off names, but you guys don't want to hear that. They got Tevin Coleman now. Wait, no, is it? Yeah, I think Tevin Coleman or Freddie Freeman. I forget which one. I always get those two mixed up, the running backs for Atlanta. But they have one of those 2 guys now. This is their year. And like I said, their ceiling is, I think, 1 playoff victory. I don't think they can get to the NFC Championship. and anything playoffs would be a success. Their floor, I don't think Jimmy G is going to get injured again. I think their floor is 7-9, especially with their schedule. If you look at it, Cincinnati and they have a really easy schedule in like the first 3-4 weeks, and then it starts getting challenging. So they really need to start rattling off those wins, get some momentum going, and hopefully they'll be healthy for that. And then the middle of the schedule gets pretty rough. I'm not going to do game-by-game breakdown because it's whatever. I think that they're going to be a 9-7, 10-6 team, and those are reasonable expectations for the squad. 10-6 is going to win this division, I think. I think the Rams take a step back. I think Seattle overperformed last year by a lot. How many years and years in a row can they overperform? But, they proved me wrong. And then the Arizona Cardinals, I think that their offensive system doesn't have the punch quite yet. I think it's going to surprise some teams this year, but I don't think they have the talent just yet with that offensive line. The point of air raid is to get the ball out really quickly, but I still think this offensive line is going to be a liability. So, yeah, as far as injuries go, there's always one or two quarterbacks every single year that gets hurt. Last year is Jimmy G, and who else got hurt? Alex Smith. So reasonable. There are going to be two quarterbacks that get injured this year, and I was thinking about doing this segment, but I don't know. But my two candidates, as much as the NFL tries to make players safe, players are going to get injured. Sorry, but I think this is fun. Kind of predict the two people that are going to get injured this year. I think an old guy's going to get injured. I think a Big Ben, a Tom Brady is going to get injured this year. I don't think Tom Brady is going to, but I think they're just going to get hit the wrong way. And I could see it happening to Joe Flacco, honestly, even though the offensive line's a little bit weak. Then I think it's going to happen to a running quarterback. I think probably my two candidates, everybody put your two candidates in the comments below. Who's going to get hurt this year? There's always two. It's going to happen. It's just, that's how important the backup QB spot is. You saw it with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now Nate Sudfeld is out. But my candidates for injuries this year are going to be Deshaun Watson. I think this offensive line, unless they get Trent Williams, if you get Trent Williams, then I'll amend my pick. I think either Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson, and then I think an old guy's going to get hit the wrong way, and I think that might be Big Ben this year. It feels like every single year he gets banged up, and this offensive line is great, but I'm not sure. So my two candidates are Deshaun Watson and Big Ben. Let me know who your candidates are in the comment section down below. And the most annoying thing is training camp injuries, because it's just like tearing your ACL. As far as like all that drama, I'm like, you can break your ankle walking down the stairs, but obviously football is more intense. I hate that argument. Like, oh, you can break your ankle walking down the stairs, but I'm like, well, how clumsy can you be walking down the stairs? Football is a whole different thing. Like, players need the reps. Players do need the reps. As far as preseason, I think they should lower it down to 3 games, not 4, and especially 5 games for the Hall of Fame teams. I think that's a dumb idea for the Hall of Fame game teams. I think that's a really stupid idea. So I'd say lower it down to 3 games, keep the regular season as it is, maybe even 2 preseason games, but I wouldn't really go that far. Players do need some reps against different teams. The scrimmages I don't think are enough. And this is not college football. This is pros, and guys need to get up to game speed. And if you don't want to play your guys, don't play your guys. It's a battle of depth. You're basically preseasons to work out your depth guys. And this video, I've been all over the place. So to recap, the 49ers expectations are 10-6 this year. Anything short of the playoffs is a failure. And I think Jimmy G, he looks good. He should be healthy. He has a lot of promise this year. I don't know what his comp is. I don't really pay attention, not too much. He didn't really show up a lot last year when he did play, and it was a non-contact injury. Sometimes those freak things happen. My two candidates this year are Deshaun Watson and Big Ben Roethlisberger. I think both of them are going to go down. I really don't like that. I really don't like saying that. I might eliminate that from the video, but anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like rating, and yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.